So today's video is my biggest and most craziest theory yet. Yes, bigger than when I called Sin a god, or even bigger when I called Sin Uzi's mother. And I think I know what will happen in the finale of Murder, and you won't believe it, but it has to do with time travel. Hello my little dronies, welcome back to another video. Before I start off this video, I need to clarify a few things. First of all, I was randomly scrolling through my shorts feeds instead of actually doing some work and stumbled on a short of this creator, which I haven't seen before, and I would like to play the short because it's not that long and important to know what she said there, but I don't intend to get copyright claimed by someone I don't know, so it will be linked in the first link down below. Go watch that short first, comment something under the video that I send you there, and then come back to this video so you have the full picture. But for this video, something in my brain clicked and I suddenly started connecting all the dots together and writing them all down, and I was really crazy in that moment. Basically, if you know this picture, you know how I felt in that moment. And even before I saw that short, in my already outdated bingo card for episode 8, the last field was mentioning time travel, which I mostly put there to fill the gaps because I really didn't have any plans for what could happen in the next episode. Or better to say, the last episode. It has to be something great and final because we killed off V, killed off Doll and Tessa. Of course, we could just kill N and Uzi, but where's this twist in that? So we need something big and final for the final episode. But back in the day, I didn't have any evidence of time travel actually existing. But now I have actually way more than I thought I ever would get. But this theory is mainly based on something that whenever it's brought up, it's the second most controversial thing in the Murderons fandom, next to the shipping. It's the circle we could see in the background of episode 1, where Uzi talks a bit to her class and you can see the hero's journey. And the reason why it's so controversial is because a certain other YouTuber has used it to make a theory about the Murderons franchise. And let me just say,
you can't talk about murder drones without talking about World War.
You can think about it whatever you want, no hate towards him, but I want to focus on one thing in particular on this circle, because everything is just generic and can be interpreted to every story. But there's a typical skull of murder drones, which is the logo of the disassembly drones, and around there are 3 different words placed in a circle. The words are death, rebirth, and abyss, and over there is realization, which certainly gave me a realization. Please can we bring up the picture one more time? But I'm not going to explain the entire hero's journey circle. There are many more videos that do that. I want to focus on these little parts, and especially on the part with abyss, because at first it doesn't seem fit anywhere. But if you look up the definition of abyss, it's mostly referred to as a deep hole where you can't see the bottom of. And guess what we saw in the last episode? And where Uzi currently is, down in the abyss of this one hole. And now is the point where I kinda need to jump the shark a little bit. But if I were to interpretate the circle to this situation, we see Uzi floating in some form of abyss, and in front of her is probably Copper 9, which exploded, which means everyone on that planet is probably most likely dead. Or maybe even Uzi is dead, and that is kinda the drone afterlife, which I don't know if to include the realization into the circle, but Uzi could realize this, or just have a realization in general, that she's now stuck there in that abyss. And in the abyss, she will be rebirthed as something new or someone new, and this could either go in 2 directions. Either the first one would be Uzi comes out as some form of monster and tries to kill N, and she will be the final boss and will be calmed down at the end. But we had this already 2 times, although it would be cool. I think 3 times are too much. Or we get to my theory, which is that Uzi will get rebirthed maybe in the past, or maybe in a similar situation in the future, whatever, but she will get rebirthed and the whole circle starts over, because the hero's journey is always a circle, which means it loops around itself infinitely, if you get what I mean. And you're probably assuming this is really far-fetched and nonsensical, which at first I thought the same, but I tried to look at things more in a looping way and realized that this theory can fix many of Murderons' plot holes, which usually frustrate me, and we get to those now. For example, the first one would be Jay. She appeared in the first episode, got killed off right after, then she transformed into some form eldritch monster, and now she reappeared, and the last time we saw her she was about to enter a fight, and I personally think she will not win this fight and might die again. This is the first time we have looped something, and the second looping thing is already right after, because by what is Jay killed again? The railgun. And the railgun is also something that has the exact same journey once more. more. It is built by a member of the doorman family and it's almost finished. The only parts that are left is needed to get from the corpse spire, and which I'm guessing the railgun will be used on Jay to kill her again, or maybe even, if we actually died, on her Eldritch Solver form so that it will explode like we saw with Jay in the second episode. And I'm not done just yet. We also have the scene where Uzi transforms into her Solver form and loses the control over herself because she has too much emotions, because she's worried of losing N, or that he will stop caring about her. And because of all that emotional stress, Uzi is taken over by her Solver and starts to go on a rampage before she's calmed down by N. And we see the same thing in episode 7, where she's in a lot of emotional stress with finding out about her mother and Tessa nearly killing her, which then she loses control again and gets controlled by her Solver, and this time Sin is included in it, and just before N snaps her out of it again. And I have wrote down even more coincidences, like Copper 9 exploding for the second time, or maybe even the third, depends on how you count, but like at first Earth, all humans were wiped out by the disassembly drones, and then the planet got turned into a black hole. Now on Copper 9, all humans got wiped out by explosions and all drones got wiped out by disassembly drones again, and now the planet seems to be exploded once more. And before we get to my last point, I want to mention that Uzi and Nori and Yeva and Doll look very similar, like oddly similar. I know parents are supposed to look like the children, but Khan is the father of Uzi and looks completely different than her. And if we look at more examples, Doll and Yeva have perfect control over her Solver, while Nori and Uzi doesn't and get taken over by Sin, and both lose their hands several times. And at last, I want to point out a comparison between the gala scene and the Tessa's reveal scene, because in both cases, Sin is the main focus. In both times, it's revealed that Sin is the actual evil for the characters. Like in the gala scene, the humans realize first that Sin actually could be dangerous and could harm them all. While in the Tessa scene, our characters realize that the Tessa was the entire time Sin and is now a threat that still can harm them, even though they thought they dealt with that threat just now. And both scenes end with an attempt to fight the enemy, but failing miserably. And I also want to point out that both times Sin gets out her tentacles and has the yellow glow doing it. But what am I trying to prove with all my points? Basically, to wrap this up, I want to say that things in Murdertones keep repeating itself, and instead of a criticism, this is something I like, because my theory is that the Solver's main objective is keeping that cycle I mentioned at the beginning of the video alive and repeating it over and over again. And if you know some things about black holes, they have a singularity where everything in the black hole is condensed, and I think the Solver is trying to get everything under his control and back to one singularity, where it starts all over again with a new universe and a new storyline which repeats itself again in the singularity. That is why we see some things repeat itself again and again after they were affected by the Solver or the singularity. This means this will be either the twist in the episode 8 or Uzi's going to find that out. Again, revelation, if you remember what I said in the beginning, and trying to stop that loop, or just accept that the loop happens, or maybe destroys everything in the loop entirely so that she just is there in a void completely alone, or maybe alone with N. Like, I'm not here to predict the entire ending, but it feels like an ending they should write. But the main point of this video isn't to say this is exactly what happened, but like with most of my videos, it would be interesting if this is what's happening. Like, I'm not saying that all those coincidences have to be related to a time loop, but I think it's interesting to try to look at it this way. And I'm always trying to find the most craziest and out there theories, because Murdertones likes to surprise us. Like, I mean, we already had an episode where we were in the past, or even who could have predicted that episode 2 Jay turns into an eldritch monster, because after episode 1 we thought we knew what disassembly were until we weren't anymore. Same counts for the Solver. We could have never predicted what the Solver is actually capable of, or really the meaning behind it. So is there evidence to disprove my theory? Probably. It just could have been all coincidences that happened, but it also could be intentional. We have to see and wait until the end. But I just wanted to inspire you to look at things in a different way than you usually would, and encourage you to make crazy theories that you might not believe in yourself, but the main thing is that you had fun while theorizing about it. And I mean, that's probably the most important thing, to have fun, right? But anyways, thanks for watching this video. I tried experimenting with a different style of video, but we have to see if I stick with it. I will start featuring fan art in the background of my outros, and I will put always the credit under it. So if you wouldn't like to be featured in a video, just tell me and I remove it afterwards. But I hope you have a great day, and remember,